fallen as well.
Right.
And it's not because of Adam, it's because we are like Adam.
It's because that same temptation that Adam fell under, whether it was eating the fruit or, committing fornication, that same desire that Adam had for the knowledge of good and evil, that same desire is in us. That want to be a God to myself.
Absolutely.
I don't have to yield myself to that God.
Yeah, that's strong.
And that's exactly what he's saying. I don't have to yield. I'm a God to myself. I don't need that God. I don't need to fall under the reign of him because I'm a God to myself.
You know what? I'm going to say this, about this whole section right here. I believe it's entirely possible, and I believe this because I've lived it. It's entirely possible for me to surround myself in this gospel, dig into this gospel, live it, want to study it and learn, catch stuff on YouTube, and the whole time be backsliding. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Now, you wouldn't think you could.
No.
But I'm going to tell you how you do that. I'm going to tell you how you backslide surrounding yourself with all this. You're coming at it for the wrong reason.
Yes. Praise the Lord. And you and me both have had this discussion. We can go into the book of James and see where in the book of James he actually tells us that we can do every bit of this stuff, and if it's for a self-centered, self-seeking purpose.
If it's for me to know more than my neighbor.
Absolutely.
If it's about me just building up this knowledge so that maybe I can, say, well, look here, this is what I think about this. If I'm motivated by that, rather than I just love the Word and I want to learn because I want to know more about God and have a closer relationship, if I step outside of that, I can surround myself with every bit of this. I can watch this 24/7. I can read this Bible 24/7. If I'm coming at it from the wrong direction, it ain't going to profit me. I'm going to lose out in the end.
And that's exactly where the Pharisees and scribes was. That's a picture of them to a T. And that's exactly why that Jesus, when he looked at his disciples after he had walked away from them, and he said, be careful how you hear.
So don't think just because you read, just because you're surrounded, just because you go to church, just because you can fall away doing every bit of that.
Absolutely.
You can fall away.
Yes.
And I'll know
and
that.
I'll even go this.
I've lived it.
Absolutely. And I'll agree with you. This is me from experience. I can actually stand up and teach this book. And if I'm teaching from a place that I'm seeking to show somebody, I want to show you you're wrong and I'm right.
Yeah, buddy.
That right there. And even a preacher. A preacher can stand up and preach the gospel. And if he's preaching it from a spot that I seen you do that, and I'm going to nail her down in your life. I'm going to let you have it. That preacher has taken every bit of the power out of the gospel with that. And I'll even go so far as to say he'll cause 10 times more damage in that message than the good ever would come from that.
Well, instead of just letting the Word do the work, men want to inject their part.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And man does have a part, but it's got to be Spirit-led.
And it's got to come from the right spot. If it does not, and again, go right over there and read the first 3 chapters in the book of James, and you'll see. He says, you have not because you ask not, or you ask amiss. That's out of place. And he said, or that you may consume it of your own lust.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. That is my own lust. If I seek only to be smarter than other people, then that's my own lust.
Absolutely.
And what did you just say? What was that thing we just said? If we walk in the Spirit?
If we walk in the Spirit, we will not fulfill the lusts of the flesh.
Now, we rarely ever relate that to something like this. But it's just as true.
But it's just as true.
If we're in this book for the wrong reasons, it's not going to profit us.
It's not going to benefit us because we're not walking in the Spirit.
Yeah.
And the carnal mind is not subject to the law of God. It's always going to revolve around being a spiritual. I'm never going to see clear if I'm not looking clear.
Yeah.
And I've got to be looking through those eyes just like Jesus. That it's not about me, but it's about the kingdom of God. And I have to see people with the same created value, just that they're not seeing what I one time didn't see.
Yeah.
And from that spot, I can benefit them. But if I'm looking at them, you're a nasty old sinner and you need God, and let me go ahead and give it to you, so that when you die and go to hell, you know, God's righteous. And I've heard that. I've actually heard that. Well, you know, now that I've given the truth, well, that God's righteous. Let me tell you something. If the gospel was never preached again, ever, God is righteous if he casts every one of us into hell.
Amen.
God is righteous in everything. So God don't need me, you, or a preacher to stand up and beat somebody to death over something that they know they're doing wrong. They know that, you know, brother, nobody never had to come to me and tell me I was a sinner when I was laying drunk all the time. I knew that. I needed somebody to give me a out.
Show me the hope.
Yeah, give me the hope. Let me know that you was in the bad shape as I was in at one time, and God actually, through his grace and mercy, give you the power to overcome that, man, and that gives me something to hold on to.
Yeah, buddy.
But you don't have to tell me what an awful sinner I am and that I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
Let me know that there's a way I can escape hell because you was in my boat and you escaped hell.
Yeah, that's right.
And in that spot,
Well,
there's
you know,
power.
You're talking about in that spot. What is that spot? The spot of love, okay? So we see that over in chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians. That's the love chapter.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows that is the love chapter. And what Paul is saying with these three, I believe, outlandish scenarios of even if I could speak the tongues of men
angels.
and angels, you know, and if I don't have charity, it profiteth nothing. And so he goes on and on with that, explaining to us how important that love should be the motivator of everything we do.
Absolutely.
And if we don't do that,
and if it's not, you can do all you want to do.
And I even said, and I said in the church Sunday, even in reproof.
Absolutely.
Even in reproof.
It's got to come from the right spot.
It's got to come from the spot of love.
It has to.
You know,
not to prove them wrong, but to show them that they were created for a greater purpose than what they're living.
There it is.
And that's where Jesus always came from. I mean, you know, and you look at that lady at the well, and you've heard me say this. That's probably some of my favorite passages, you know, that consists of the Lord's time. And I see. I mean, look at how far he went to get to her.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that it was an extra day's journey the way that they went, going through Samaria to get where they were going. But he had an intent for that, and that intent and purpose was to get to that woman. Now, he could have looked at that woman right off the bat, and he could have said, "Well, I know why you're coming here in the hot part of the day. It's because nobody else will have anything to do with you because you're a whore and you've married a half a dozen times and you're shacked up with another man." Now, all the stuff that we hear a lot of times coming out of pulpits toward people, and in the manner that it's just designed, and you know it's just designed to make them feel bad, because when they feel awful, I feel like, man, look at me way up here. I'm above that.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He looked at her and he told her, he said, if you'd ask of me, rather than looking at me saying, what are you going to draw your water with, if you'd ask me, I'd give you a drink of water that really make a difference in your life. Well, how are you going to do that? You don't have nothing to draw with. And he said, the water I'm talking about is a little different than the water you're talking about. Well, give me this water then. If it's all that, give it to me. The Lord knew. He knew. He could have looked at her and said, well, I would, but you're shacked up with a man. But he didn't. He drew her into
opportunity after opportunity to point out how bad she was.
He drew her right into that.
This is what he was caring about. One thing, and that was getting in here.
Finding
that lodging place here. He knew if he could get into here, the rest would fix itself.
It would take care of itself.
And that's what we've been trying to say in this podcast, I believe, since day one, is
absolutely.
It's about here. It's about changing this. It's not about changing the outward appearance, but here. Now, if this gets fixed, the outward will fix.
Everything else is going to get taken care of. Absolutely. And you know, I told the church this, you know, where it was so cold. Last Sunday we didn't have church. Of course, this past Sunday we've back, but it was 2 Sundays ago. I told the church, I said, you know, I guess the one thing that frustrates me with how the gospel's presented more than anything else is we make it so much about what you do and what you don't do, rather than about what you become because of him.
We just turn it back into the law. And that's what,
all
if we read Hebrews, what's he saying in Hebrews?
Yeah.
It's all about don't go back to the law. Don't make this a law.
That's what Paul's getting into through here. Right. And that's what Paul's harping right here. Well, I say harping. That's what he keeps trying to emphasize to these Jews that were at Rome.
Yeah.
To get them to see. Even through this, he's trying to get them to understand that it had nothing to do with the law. It was the fact that we were inerrantly in a spot from Adam. That desire was in Adam to want that knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, I mean, don't ever get me wrong. There's do's and don'ts that come along with it.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, no.
Absolutely.
There is plenty of do's and don'ts.
There is.
If you look at those 2 commandments, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, love your neighbor as yourself. If you love your neighbor as yourself, there's so many things that you will not do. There's so many things that you will do.
Absolutely.
And so there's your do's and don'ts contained in those 2 commandments.
Right.
But
and
it's
if
all
I love God,
this has to be the root of it all.
Absolutely.
This has to be fixed first. If
Absolutely.
this gets fixed, then that is just a manifestation of this.
Absolutely. And what constrains you to be faithful and loyal to your wife, even when you were lost? There's something that constrains you to be, and that something is love.
Yeah.
Okay, if I love God, is that not going to constrain me to not commit spiritual adultery on God?
Same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And you know.
And how many times have we made that analogy here? That you don't really hear that much, but there is an analogy between
everything in this
the man and the woman. There's such an analogy there between a man and a woman's relationship.
Absolutely.
And a man and God's relationship.
He's the bridegroom and we're the bride.
Yeah. And have you ever heard in any wedding ceremony, since you brought that up, have you ever heard in any wedding ceremony, when they get up to take the vows, that only one party took the vows?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Absolutely not.
Because it's a covenant.
Because it's a covenant.
The two.
It takes
and that's
two.
exactly what our covenant with God is. There's an exchange of vows.
It ties together.
He's saying,
so many
I will
ways.
do this if you will do that.
Absolutely.
That's what he's saying.
Absolutely.
And so we know he's going to do his part. Now all that's left is us doing ours.
And as you've grew as a Christian, and I know, you know, for me, when I surrendered and became a believer, the purpose behind that was because I was terrified of dying and going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
But from that point till now, you know, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but you know, the thought of dying and going to hell does not drive me very little now. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that there's something I've seen in him that, man, I love him so much. I mean, it's not a fear of hell now. It's a love for him.
Yeah, I guess I'm a weirdo, but I never really had that manifested fear that I see a lot of folks talk about, that manifested fear.
And I've heard others say that very same thing.
I never really experienced that, but I knew. But here's what I knew. Okay, so what if I do something that's successful in life? So what if I have a business that's successful?
Right.
There's something I'm missing, and I knew it. There's just something that I'm missing, and God has got something so much greater than what I am now waiting for me. And all I have to do is accept it to experience that and manifest that in my life.
More to life than what I'm living.
And I just knew that God is calling me to something greater than what I am. So what if I run a successful business? Guess what? Guess what? One day, every dime that old Rodney's ever made is going to be somebody else's. Everything that old Rodney's ever acquired is going to belong to somebody else. So what have I really done?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And in the end, it's all going to burn anyway.
Exactly. And so why not do something that's really going to benefit me here and accept what I know to be right from God?
Right.
And so I guess that was my motivation more than, gee, I just don't want to go to hell. Right. You know, I'm sure that was part of that factor, that factored in, because I knew the end that, you know, I don't know.
Well, and you know, and I've heard other people say that, and of course for me, you know, and I guess that, you know, it was a different driver, but it was the same driver. It was that we need something outside of something we can provide ourselves.
That's exactly right.
But from that point, you know, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, you know, there's just something about actually beginning to see him. that man, you just, Rodney, you can't see him and not love him.
Right.
I mean, you can't see God for who God is and not love
That's
him.
right.
Or I don't
right.
see how you can see
That's
him
right.
and not. So,
Well, how do you see him?
right here.
Get in that word.
And spending time alone with him. And me and you were talking before we started the podcast this evening about how important it is. And man, if you don't get anything out of nothing we ever say, please don't deprive yourself of time, just you and God here and you talking to God. I know it's very common.
That's the relationship.
That's the relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where you overcome the desires and lusts of this flesh.
There you go.
It's essential, and it's the most neglected thing. And do you think it's a coincidence that the adversary keeps us so busy that we neglect those two?
No, sir.
Because he knows that's where our power's at.
Yes, sir.
If you know him, you'll love him. And so what does the adversary do? Keep us so busy we don't have time to get to know him.
The adversary is busy providing us with an easy way. Now, I'm gonna get into this just a bit. I'm sorry, you guys. Every invention that's ever been invented by mankind has been for mostly one purpose.
Make life easier.
To make something easier, something that was more difficult, to make it easier. And all human beings are allured by that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so that's what the computer was invented for, the calculators and all these things. Well, what's it done? It's cluttered our life.
Absolutely.
Look at the TV. To make entertainment easy.
Right.
Now I don't have to go to the show on the corner.
Right.
Now I can sit in my living room and watch that
in my living room.
So it's all about convenience, and it's about making things easy. But look what it's done. It's cluttered our lives full of everything that is not God.
Right.
And presented itself to us with the full intent of drawing us away from God.
Drawing us away from God.
That's just the only way you can say it.
That's the purpose of it.
Is Satan behind it? Absolutely.
Well, sure he is.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's kind of ironic that you mentioned that. We're constantly got all of these things that we I yelled at my neighbor today. Man, that devil. But here's the thing. We've actually got in our mind that we fight the devil. But here's what we fight. The Bible said we fight the good fight of faith.
Yeah.
That's what we fight. If I can maintain the faith.
And we're drawn away by our own lust.
It's
not the devil.
It's not the devil.
The devil's job is to dangle it in front of you.
That's exactly right.
But that lust comes from us.
It comes from us. It comes from us. And as soon as I quit fighting that good fight of faith, or I let that faith down, I'm going to reach out and grab it.
Yeah. A good friend told me, and you've heard him tell the same story, you know who I'm talking about. Said his granddaddy, and he was just a pillar of the faith, his granddaddy. And he said that his granddaddy, which he was a preacher, that his granddaddy was approached one time about getting a car.
That moved me so much here.
Yeah, and you know what he said? He said, well, that would be all right. That'd be pretty nice. But he said, next thing you know, we'd be riding around on Sunday rather than going to church. Maybe we wouldn't be reading our Bible. And, now,
that's the mindset that God's looking for.
To the world, that's crazy. But you know what it is? That's spiritual wisdom.
That's spiritual wisdom.
Yes, it is.
There was nothing about the glitter of that automobile that was so bright that he was going to take a chance on it separating him from what was most important.
Yeah.
And that's what God's looking for.
And, in the day that the TV came out, and there was a lot of preachers preaching against TV. And look, I'm not going to say they're wrong in this, and this is why I'm saying this, is because can we look at the TV as an invention that has enhanced the spiritual walk of man? No.
Right.
It's done the opposite.
Does it produce life or death?
How can it be good? So, here's how the devil works. The first show he puts on there is Desi and Lucy's. They're sleeping in separate beds. I mean, they're scared to even show them even being in the same bed with one another.
Andy Griffith, look. I mean, a kiss on the cheek was all you ever seen.
Yeah, and the producers were like, oh gosh, we're going to get by with that.
They were pushing the envelope with that. Right.
And so look at where we are now. I mean, Look at where we are now.
Yeah.
So
You can't watch a commercial anymore without. So yeah, and so you can see that the driver behind that. God was trying to let us know.
But now, the devil said, well, you know what? I've got another trick up my sleeve, and it's called technology. And so we grab these little things right here.
Oh my!
And the TV's got nothing for that right there. I mean, it's useless now for a preacher to preach on TV.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah, that's done. Yeah.
When you're carrying that around in your pocket, why waste time talking about TV?
Yeah, that's nothing.
The devil's got it for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times, and of course, and you know this. I mean, there's been times that I've been looking up parts for one of our a dump truck or a piece of equipment or something, and Google it in the wrong manner on that phone right there. And the things I'll pull up, and they're the things that I've had to pop up. I think, man, how on earth? But see, that's the thing. That thing started out. Man, look how convenient. I mean, I remember.
Information.
When my wife, when they first came out, and my wife was the first one that showed me the bag phone.
Yeah.
And I know you remember. I mean, it looked like you was carrying a duffel bag around with you. But at the time, my wife was running a bank route for a local bank here in our area, and she drove about 450 miles a day. When she came in with that thing, and well, before she came in, when she got talking about it, she got talking about these cell phone. And I got that cell phone.
Yeah.
I mean, what on earth? I mean, I grew up, Daddy, most of the time, by 6 o'clock, Daddy would go in there and get that phone and take it off the hook. We call it off the hook, So you'd call and it'd ring and ring and ring. He'd throw that thing in the floor. And if he found out you put it back on the wall, well, he'd thrash you because somebody called 8 o'clock. They woke my dad up because he was in the bed,
Yeah.
So, I was raised that you hated everything about a phone. I mean, that was just awful. Man, get away from that thing. Mm-hmm. So when she came in, though, and she got to talking about that phone, the first thought that entered my mind was, that would be awesome, because I always worried, well, what if she's out here on the interstate and her car would break down or something would happen, and how on earth is she ever going to get hold of me? Because I know the younger generation don't know this, but there actually was a time that you had to go to a store that had a paid phone, and you actually had to
put money in.
Yeah, put the money in and punch the buttons and all. I mean, it wasn't, like it is now, where you do the whatever the thing is. I know it ain't Lexi or something, but I hear my wife doing it all the time, and she'll say, "What's the weather for tomorrow?" And out of nowhere, over in the corner, you hear her phone say, "Well, it's going to be partly cloudy and 47 degrees."
Yeah.
But I thought, man, that's a good thing. But look at where it's gone to from that.
Yeah.
And I kind of rambled on a bit on that, but that was what I was getting at. Was the TV? It started out harmless. You had I Love Lucy, you had Andy Griffith, man, you had the Rifleman. Yeah. I mean, me and my wife, would sit and watch the Rifleman constantly. Even Lost. I mean, that was just that was a good show. Old Lucas, man, with that lever action rifle. But it's gone from that to now. I mean, man, look at some of the stuff. And it's the same thing with the phone.
Yeah.
And it's we fight the good fight of faith, and every bit of that stuff is directed in a manner to tell me if I want it, I ought to be able to have it.
That's right. And this AI is only enhancing that same thought.
And it's going to push us further.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going to end. But
it's not going to be good.
But I know that it's a push for dehumanization.
It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
I was watching, and I showed my wife the other day, and it was just a little short clip, and it showed this guy, and it showed him from about his chest up, and he was talking, and he's holding his cell phone and looking around, and it showed this lady. And I mean, every feature about that lady is what me and you through the flesh would consider perfect. I mean, the high cheekbones, the real pretty deep dark colored eyes, pretty hair. I mean, skin just smooth as a 3-year-old. And then he scrolled down and he leans over, and he says a word or two to her, and he says, "Well, can I have a kiss?" And she kind of batted her eyes, in that real pretty way, and she puckered her lips up, and he reaches out and kisses it, and then he backs up and zooms away. And you can see it's actually a robot. that has just had skin wrapped on it up here. And I thought, there's nothing good ever going to come from that.
I don't know. Do they talk a lot? I'm just kidding.
Well, let me tell you.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. You're in trouble. I'll keep my mouth shut before I get in trouble. I'll keep my mouth shut, and I won't mention the off and on button. That would be so nice. If my wife watches this, honey, I'm so sorry. Don't make me eat bologna and cheese.
Yeah, don't watch that part forward there.
Maybe your daughter will edit that out.
Yeah, Dwayne really wrecked it. Don't even watch it. All right, well, I guess we've done enough damage for tonight. So
thank you for watching. Hit the like, the subscribe, share it. If you like it, and share it if you don't like it. There's no use in you being miserable by yourself. Make other people miserable.
Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy.
Yeah, make everybody miserable with yourself. But God bless you. We love you, and I hope we've been a help to you. Maybe if you've enjoyed it, come back.
Over and out.